Hi, I'm Edward Jenny. I am founder and CEO of Edward Jenny and Associates, a group of psychologists in West Grove, Pennsylvania. And I made this video to talk about what we call the Deep Insights model. And this video is to go along with the blog that we have posted about it. It is called the Deep Insight Model, Understand Yourself in a Way That Changes Everything. But some people prefer to watch a video than to read text, so I'm going to talk through that post a little bit. It won't be exactly the same, but I'll try to hit some of the high points in the video, and you can go back to the blog if you decide you want to read more about it. So first of all, what is the Deep Insight Model? Essentially, this is what we have come to call the method that we use to help people make significant changes. So one of the differences in training between psychologists and other mental health professionals is that we've spent a lot of time learning how to do assessment. We learned to use things like the Inkblot method and the MMPI and a whole host of other assessment instruments. One of the things that we notice when we use these instruments is that people make profound changes as a result of being a participant in an assessment. And that was kind of interesting. So why is it that people make these changes? And we believe it's because people fundamentally change how they see themselves as they go through one of these assessments. So what's different about our assessments? Well, first of all, we start by focusing on the questions that are most important to you. And that's critical because rather than us thinking about your situation and giving you a bunch of tests and then telling you the results, we spend a lot of time at the beginning really exploring what it is that is most important to you and what you're curious about and what you have energy around understanding. And that's a fundamental difference, because if we start there, then we are working with you and we are collaborating with you from the very start. And that is a key difference. So we start by developing these questions, and we help you focus them, and we ask you about the background of the phenomenon or the thing that you're curious about. And then we select some of the assessment tools that we have at our disposal that we think are most likely to answer those questions. We then administer those assessment tools in a research-validated way so that the results are valid and scientifically substantiated. And then we talk to you about those results. So we'll meet with you, we'll lay out the data as we see it, but we spend a lot of time asking you, does that feel right to you? Does this explanation fit your lived experience? So it's always a dialogue back and forth. One of the things that I talk about in the blog is the role of shame. And shame is something that, it's funny, it's almost like shame is nothing to be ashamed of. But the point is that shame is something we all experience. It's a universal human emotion. It's also an extremely painful emotion. But if we acknowledge that shame is common to all of us, then we begin to be able to neutralize shame because we can normalize it. We can understand why someone might feel some shame about a particular incident or way of looking at things. And by doing that and using the curiosity that we've already tapped into, we can help you examine why that shame is present, and we can begin to undo it so that you don't stay stuck in that cycle of shame, back and forth, unresolved, unrepaired shame, okay? So we try to undo that shame and normalize it, and that helps you get unstuck. So these questions that we develop in the Deep Insight model are the questions that will change everything. You get the answers to these questions, and it fundamentally changes the way you see yourself, and it opens doors to coping in new ways or thinking about your dilemma of change in new ways, in ways that help you. So some of the questions people come to us with: why do I get stuck feeling the same way again and again? Why do I feel empty? Why does this relationship pattern keep repeating? I feel anxious, ashamed, or overwhelmed, even when things should be fine. And why can't I let go of old wounds? These are just a few of the questions or the types of questions that we get. And they're very profound ones. And we'll spend time understanding those questions, when those issues arose, when they're better, when they're worse, and so forth. Some people ask, is this method research backed? And it is. What we're doing is we're taking the best psychological science and applying it in ways that we think are going to help you in profound ways. So the MMPI, the Rorschach, the tools that we use are all empirically validated, as are the ways in which we interact with you and provide therapy and provide a therapeutic alliance. These are all research-backed techniques that we know work. So the other point that I want to highlight is that this is highly specified to you as an individual. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. We create the assessment based on your questions, and we help you develop those questions. So that's why we don't work with insurance companies, and we ask you to pay out of pocket for this, because insurance companies really tie our hands. Insurance is tied to a medical model, which requires a diagnosis that leads to a specific treatment plan that insurance will endorse and pay for. We want to turn that a little bit upside down, and we want to come to you as a unique person and develop a treatment plan that is specified particularly for you, and not some manualized model that might work and might not work. We are going to tailor our approach specifically to you. So if this sounds interesting to you, if you want to learn more about it, please book a consult call, and we would be happy to talk to you and get you started on finding the answers to questions that will change everything. Thanks.